Hello, welcome to the Town End podcast. A disappointing 2-2 draw tonight for Dundalk against UCD. Joining me to start out to go over it is Gally, and hopefully we'll have Steph and Chris coming in later. Gally, how's it going?
Oh, everything was great until about 25 minutes ago. What a time we? Where do we start, Pinky? Where do we start?
Probably at the kick-off, Gally.
Well, we can start with ourselves in last week's predictions because we were way off. We were way off the mark.
Well, 2-1 was close, but I think I was the closest, so I should probably get the points for that this week. But before we start, I suppose just to get out of the way, this week we're not doing a pizza, but we are doing a signed copy of Brian Gartland's book, One Last Shot. If you want to pick your man at a match, send in your comments now. It's probably going to be an easy night to pick a man at a match tonight because there wasn't too many that stood out. So get it in. But yeah, initial thoughts, Gally, on the match.
If you're looking at it, there's probably no point going too far in. But starting off, I thought we were slow. I mean, that's probably the best way. That's I don't want to get too technical jargon, but we were just completely slow. I felt that if UCD probably had a Pat Hubin or a Paul Doyle playing in their pitch tonight, they probably would have won the game. I thought we were just like we can go, we can talk about the sending off and stuff like that, but just in our own game, we just looked kind of methodical. We never took the game to them. We just never. They're at home. Look, it's not like there's a massive crowd behind them. Look, we've mentioned before they're a good football side. But we should be looking to beat a team like UCD 9 nights out of 10, twice on Sundays, home or away. It's a poor night. It's a poor night. They never got going in the first half. Like we can talk about Andy Boyle in a couple of minutes, which I'm sure you're dying to cover. But we were just poor from the outset, slow to the ball. I'm not saying we weren't second to the ball. We just moved it. It just never seemed. It seemed like lethargical. It was almost like we took the game for granted. And I'm not saying they did, but like we as fans definitely took the game for granted. We were obviously assuming an absolute pacing for UCD. But for me, like I don't know what. Like I was watching the match. You were watching it yourself, and it just looked. It almost had it written up for us that it was going to be that kind of night. Now, obviously, when we're 2-0 up, we'll cover it. But the only word I can describe it is just slow and just boring. That's it's not very football, but I can't just think of anything else for it.
Yeah, I think it says it all when the most exciting part of the night was probably with the IT crowd's commentary, so it was just, as you say, it did seem, and it's hard because you don't want to accuse the team flattening. I know that for a fact that Stephen O'Donnell's not going to send his team out to just go through the motions, but it did seem like, with the exception of a few players, it was, as you say, it was lethargical. It looked like there was, it was hard to see where the openings were coming because players didn't seem to be moving the way they did. Like we talked last week about how good Keith Ward was, and I don't remember Wardy touching the ball in the first half, and he was subbed off at half time. And I don't think
that told its own story, really, didn't it?
Yeah, I don't think it was necessarily down to, and with the greatest respect, I don't think that UCD were excellent either. You know what I mean? I don't think they were that good. I don't think we were poor because they were good. I think it was just it was a poor performance, and we'll talk about the first half in a minute, but it said it all to me towards the end when Bradley came on and Greg Slogga is playing on the right. He's the widest player out right, and Bradley's in the middle, and it seemed a little bit disjointed tonight, but I don't know if that was by design, but we'll get into the weeds of the second half later. So first of all, talking about the first half, not much really happened up until the goal, did it?
Yeah, it was just. I'll tell you how little that was happening. I didn't know we had scored, so I had the commentary on and my ear, and I had my eye on something else, and I didn't even. I know the commentators, look, we made, I think myself and Donald Green and tweets up about the commentators, but it was just such a dull first half. Look, it was a dull game in fairness, but it just seemed to be, lacking a wee bit of bite, a wee bit of Keith Ward. That's probably, you mentioned it there, when a player like Keith Ward can influence a game against UCD, you know it might not be your night early doors. Like even the goal, if you take even our goal, it's a kind of a half shot. It's probably, we haven't seen the angle, it's probably heading towards goal, but it takes a wee bit of a deflection, and then aside from that, we haven't really done anything.
No.
I thought Kerrigan was excellent the first half of UCD. I don't want to go on with their players too much, but I just felt like we just didn't get a hold of it. We just didn't take the game to them. You know, they actually started pretty bright, UCD, for a team that's, you know, look, let's be honest. I mean, well, then again, look at games like that, they might nick something, but I can't see them finishing anywhere near where they need to be to even get a playoff or to not get relegated. But, you know, when you play a team like this, you have to get at them early because they're fast. Everybody knows what UCD are like. It's a mythology at the club they've had for years. They can play the ball, they can pass. They've multiple league winners. We mentioned it last week on the show, but for me, the lads went out, and it felt like, now, like you've said, Stephen O'Donnell didn't send them out to, you know, with a certain type of way of playing, or, you know, not a negativity, but I just felt like we had no answer for it. We just said, right, this is the way we're going to do it. And if it doesn't work, we'll just keep plodding away. There just seemed to be nothing, you know, like you said, we 2 subs coming on early. You know, when you, like, it'd be different if you were 2-0 down and you're making 2 subs. You know, we're actually winning at halftime, and it just didn't make. It was like they almost said, right, it's UCD. We could probably get away with making any kind of sub here. You know, we'll be fine. But my God, it was a shocking night. It really was. It's the more I even think about it, the more I'm getting frustrated even trying to talk about it. I can't describe how poor the first half was, and all the game. But if we're just talking about the first half, we were well off the pace. We're talking about a battle for third. Like, we were well off the pace in the first half, well off it.
Yeah, it was chalk and cheese compared to last week, definitely.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the goal as well, as you say, it took a wicked deflection, but it was one of those where you felt like we were going to kick on after that, you know, because I think we were on top then for a little bit after that, and I suppose we'll talk about the big talking point in the first half. Obviously, was Andy Boyler standing off, and I've seen the majority of people have said it was a red. I mean, from where I was sitting watching it, it looked like a red card to me. It was a straight red. I think it was a great call by the referee, the refs have got so much abuse lately. I actually think he got the 3 big calls all right tonight. But yeah, I think it was just a shocking tackle, wasn't it? There was no need for it. And
yeah, I mean, like we were saying off air, we spoke for a minute before we come on. If he does it, if it's 1-on-1 with the keeper, you can almost understand it. You know, actually, even if it's early doors in the first half, you probably can't understand it. But that's a last 5-minute game and you're 1-0 up, and there's a couple of minutes to go and he pulls off a tackle like that. You'd almost pat him on the back. He stopped the goal scoring opportunity. But to put in a tackle 45 yards from the opposition's box or goal line, and a needless tackle. He was going, like, yeah, he might have got control of the ball first, but he wasn't really going anywhere. McCarry was there, Garth was there. It was crazy, and he's lunged in. He's not getting near the ball. Like, if he gets up and tackles again, he still doesn't get near it. He's miles away. It's just a rush. I don't know if it's a rush of blood. It's a bit early in the game to be having a rush of blood, especially when you're winning 1-0. But it's crazy. It's crazy. It's like, it's so unlike Andy Boyle. It's, you know,
I was just about to say, it's very out of character for him, isn't it? And I think the only thing I could think of is maybe he didn't realise he was as far away from the goal as he was. You know, that might be the only thing, because as I say, at that point of the game, we were on top a little bit and we were playing a little bit higher. And to give someone like Boyler the benefit of the doubt, a senior player, you would say maybe he just didn't realise where he was on the pitch. But it was a crazy tackle.
Yeah, obviously you want to look at it as a defender. You want to as any player really. You want to battle for every ball. You don't want to be losing the ball, and it's come from a little bit of a hesitancy. I think with Boyle, a couple of passes beforehand that they've given UCD the ball back. But even at that, I mean, like, he was better off just running at him and tripping him. You know, like, there was no like, it's the lunge and he's off the ground. Like, he could have snapped his leg very handy. And it's just, when I first saw it, I kind of thought he got a little bit of the ball, and there's some things you don't get the replays. We did get the benefit of the replay tonight, but I don't know what kind of ban he's going to get, but, you know, that, to me, that could be very easy a 3-match. But it's a crazy, like, you'd be hammering the ref if you only gave a yellow. It's one of them, you know, there's no defending. Yes, you'll argue with the ref. I know Garth had a bit of a word, but there's no, like, he might get a bit of a pacing off the gaffer tonight for that one. There's no excuse for it. It's like I say, if it's if it's outside our own 18-yard box and it's, it's a chance at the last minute for a goal, you can't justify it, but you can see the logic and look, we'll attempt to get it, but it really is a shocker. It's something like you were saying off before we come on the chat. It's something you'd expect off one of the young fellas, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like
it was inexperience, or not even inexperience, indiscipline from an experienced player, so that's what makes it more shocking as well, because you just don't come to expect that from Boyler, and he's been consistent throughout the season. Every week him and Conley have been nominated for man of the match, and I suppose that moves us on. And just a reminder to everybody watching, get your nominations in for man of the match tonight to win the signed copy of Brian Gartland's new autobiography, One Last Shot. And I suppose the worry was kind of there, wasn't it, at that point, once Boyler went off? Because then you're looking and you're saying, right, Mark Conley suspended, Boyler's off now, and our only recognised centre back is Brian Gartland, who is returning from a very, very serious injury, and he has to now marshal the back three. Or I think it kind of was a back 3/4. I think Bowen was dropping into that centre half spot for a while, but you have someone who's still coming back to full fitness in there. And for me, even though there was only a couple of minutes left of the half, for then there is a little bit of panic, or a little bit of worry as a supporter, because how fit is Garth's going to be to now do the job with two men, So it just, at that point, you were just, there was a worry kind of set in. But we started the second half brightly, though. I think he made the changes. Who was it? Come on, I don't actually have my notes here.
It was Wardy, and you've hit me on the hit. You've hit me now, big time. It was a Bone. Is it a Bone came on?
Bone came on, and there's a centre midfielder.
But even the fact that Steve, you said, right, we need to make changes. Could you have left? I don't know. Maybe since UCD had come back into it, from looking at the game, I didn't think. I thought we were, like you said, I thought we were well in control, even after sending off. I mean, yes, you'd have a bit of worry in your mind that you're down to 10, but without being disrespectful, it is UCD. A 10-man Dundalk team on fire on all cylinders should still beat a UCD team, and we were. I mean, we were 2-0 up. The penalty, I'm not saying it was soft. We definitely got it. We definitely, he definitely earned it. But I mean, at 2-0, you're kind of thinking, right, we can shut up shop here. Not in a negative way, but let's keep everything composed. But it just seemed to be. Now, I will say, just going into the second half, I will say, I haven't seen I've seen the replay, but I have to slow it down. I haven't really watched on Twitter. But to me, the UCD's first goal, there's a slight bit of offside on it, I think. Now, I could be completely wrong. My eyesight's not perfect, as you can tell by some of the production on the show over the last couple of weeks. But I'd love if there's comments on if anybody thinks. I thought there's a bit of obviously we don't have the angle at League of Ireland, but to me there's a slight touch of offside. It's still no excuse. He's gone in between the two boys. But it's a cracking finish from Whelan, but a slight bit of offside. But once they scored, I'm not saying the writing was on the wall, but they were well up for it. They were quicker to the ball. They definitely moved the ball faster. We seem to be that extra man that they had just seemed to really slow us down. It seemed to really bog us down big time. I don't know if that's a mental thing. It shouldn't be a fitness thing. We're only, 13, 12, the third of the way through the season. It shouldn't really be that kind of issue. But I know like you said, when you lose a player of Boyle's experience, it has effect, especially on someone like young McCarry playing at the back, who didn't play badly. But, when you're up, when you've got Garth had a baptism of fire coming back, and he's come in against Rovers, sent off, he's into night. It just must be an absolute nightmare at the minute. It's going to really test everybody now over the next couple of weeks. But even a 2-0 again with 10 men, we should be looking to put it to bed. We really should be.
Yeah, I thought, it was, as I say, I think the referee got the 3 big calls, including both penalties. I think he got them right tonight, to be fair. I think Hubin again, who was excellent again tonight. I was actually surprised to see him being actually taken off, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I was kind of the opinion. I wasn't of the opinion we'd shut up shop, but you kind of think when we get there, down to 10 men, we still seemed in control without playing particularly well. Is again, can we kick on and get 3 or 4 and put this to bed? Because I know from the time back when I was working with Fozzie, they always said that 2-0 is nearly the worst scoreline you can have, because if they get the one goal, which they did, the momentum swings in their favour, and it did tonight. You know what? Again, I watched that replay a couple of times of their goal, and I'd agree with you. To me, it looked offside, but you can't see where Leahy is out on the far left.
Yeah.
So you probably have to think maybe Leahy was playing him onside, and I didn't see any protest from the players, from our lads, to suggest offside either. But it just seemed after that goal, the team was completely deflated, weren't they? And there was no get up and go. As I say, what was frustrating me was as the game dragged on, and even when it went to 2-2, there was these little passes around the middle of the park, but it was like a one touch, and it wasn't even being played with any power to our lads. And UCD players were just sniffing it up. You know, they were sniffing it up every time, and it just, for me, that was one of the most frustrating things. You know, that the play just wasn't. It just seemed like the players were completely out of sync. You know, it didn't seem like the players in the second half were working together at all. And I don't know if that was because we lost that player, we lost Boiler just before half time, but it just seemed that no passes were coming off at all. You know, we get past, then the next pass was going straight to a blue jersey, and it was a very, very weird second half, wasn't it?
Yeah, to me, when you were saying the pass, to me it seemed like they were almost annoyed at themselves. It was like they were getting frustrated, and they were insisting to themselves in their own head, right, we got to make this next pass work, without just calming the situation down. You know, like when we're talking about Boyle being sent off, and you've got Leahy, Garts, and not that Garts has been around the block, but someone like maybe if Conley was in there, maybe, I don't know whether, I'm not saying it would have made a difference, but someone who's played all the minutes building up to the season, that extra bit of fitness, you know, like I can only imagine going down to 10 men and the absolute thick head on Mark Conley would gee up them players. Not saying that Gartland didn't, but you know, it's going to really test me over the next couple of weeks. I think, you know, those, and we've had Bradley off in the last couple of weeks as well. You know, we've done all right, but there just seems to be, when we're not getting the rub of the green, we're really not getting it. You know, nothing excuses the performance. The officials, he's had some dodgy ones, but I mean, he's got, like you said, it's definitely, you know, the major ones he probably got right, or you know, we can't really say close enough it's an official, but we definitely, you know, Boyle's card is a red card. But on the performance, like you think at 2-0 in particular, even at 2-1, I suppose, when they go down to 2-1, you're thinking, right, it's UCD, we can't let them get back into this, we can't let them have a sniff of this. And then the penalties from a corner, like you know, and Dave's right, keep the faith. Yeah, I look at, like, there's nobody keeps the faith more than this place. But you know, I just, it was interesting. It came across me Twitter earlier on. I seen a stat with James Rogers had it up, and I think that leaves it at 18 games. I think he said 17 earlier. Is that 18 away matches where we haven't won?
Yeah, I think Nevada Italian was the last, wasn't it?
That's
a
frightening stat. Like,
yeah,
I actually Googled him. He said I thought he had it way wrong there. Like, to be 18 games now after tonight, away matches, it's mad, isn't it? Like, it's indefensible. Like, I know last season is last season, but still, you know, you've gone now, how many, is that 7 games now? 7 away matches this season? I might have to do the maths on that.
Yeah.
And you know, it's staggering, really, and it just seems to be they have no luck on the road at the minute. But then again, look, I suppose you make your own. But there's no doubt in my mind, if we're playing 10 men tonight against pretty much any other team in the league, we may struggle. But you know, without being disrespectful to UCD, and you know, maybe Finn Half might fall into that category later on in the season, we got to be looking at still winning the match. I mean, we've comfortably gone 2-0 up, I suppose, early on in the second half, but then it was just open season. I think bar a save from Gartland, a couple of missed chances. They've done the very same what they've done at Oriel Park. They can't make that killer pass. UCD can't seem to find that striker in possession. And if they could do that, they probably would have killed us off, probably 83rd, 84th minute tonight. And that would have been just apt. We probably wouldn't have come on. We probably wouldn't have had the show. We probably would have left it last week for a double one. But
yeah.
There's no covering it. They were poor. There is no...
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to get down this negative road again. Steph McKevett will have an absolute canary, but it's poor. Like, when the stats read like that, away from home, 7 matches this season, 18 in total. It's not great reading. When you're trying to fight for that third spot in the league, which we are now, you know, that's our ceiling at the minute. It's really poor, really, really poor. Like, you were talking about possession. they couldn't string passes together. And I think it was just frustration more than anything else. They were trying to make these passes come off, and it just was not happening for them.
Yeah, and I think, it seemed like we lacked a little bit of a plan B, didn't it? Where we want to play this style of football, but when you're down to 10 men, you have to learn how to play it or to win dirty. You have to just backs to the wall, go long ball. And I think he actually tried that when he brought on McMillan and Bradley. He wanted to go a little bit long, but it seemed like the play still was, throw-ins were going back to the defenders. They were playing it into the centre of the park. They were trying to play it out the far side, and then we were losing it again to UCD. So it seemed like they were still trying to play a ball where probably you should have been trying to get in behind the back four of them. And I think we almost did. Leahy had a great chance as well in the second half, lay it on that if that goes in, I mean, we're probably a little bit happier tonight, albeit with the performance. But as I say, I suppose, what did you make of his changes tonight? Because for me, I thought the Hubin one was strange, because I just felt like he was everywhere, wasn't he? He was everywhere in that attacking third. He was chasing down every ball. And sorry, go ahead.
No, go on. The only reason for probably taking off, like not the only reason, but that I can see is tiredness, and maybe he indicated it. But for me, you need players like that on the field. I'm all for Davy Mack getting a run. John Martin was brought on. I think it was John Martin, 80, 90 minutes, even 98 minutes. Was he way too late?
Yeah.
No, we don't want to settle for a draw here, but I think players like Hubin cover so much space. They have to be left on the field until they literally can't go anymore. I'm not saying it was a mistake. I don't know, but look, at hindsight's great. But for me, he's in form, albeit a couple of penalties. I think players like that, captain, it's a strange one. It definitely is a strange one. Now look at, I've gone on about subs last year, some strange subs we made. Even Stephen Kenny in his time made some really strange subs, but it's not up there with really odd ones. But it's definitely I think it was early. It was too early as well. It was probably 10 minutes too early. It was just, I won't say it was a panic, but they obviously wanted to try something different. Now, the only difference, if you're taking Hubin off the field, the only difference for me is either putting Dickie Kelly up there or someone who's quicker. So John Martin, for me, McMillan wouldn't be the option. But I go back to like Hubin's. You mentioned Hubin's played well, but then when you look across the whole team, it's unfathomable how slow they were. How I can't even describe it. It was like they were neutral the whole night. It just never looked like, I know they're not traveling 400 miles for a game, but you didn't feel sorry if you went to that. It's a tough stadium to go to watch a game of football anyway. Like it's sitting in the middle of a forest, but to go and watch a team play like that, for me, it's probably the worst. Like I'm trying to think back to when we've had some dodgy games this season, but for me, that's probably the worst 90 minutes we've had since, Jesus, I don't know, even before Vinnie Pear came back from the second spell last year, like that, and that's saying something. For me, that was as poor as I've watched over the last 8 or 9 months. I thought that was a shocker, a real shock, and a real letdown, because games like that are going to cost you. Draws like that will cost you. Yes, I know we've been down to 10 men. Missing an Andy Boyle, I get it, but and I don't want to be disrespectful to UCD. Not that there's anybody watching from there, but to be down to 10 men, even like you'd fancy yourself at 9. You'd expect if you were down to 9 men, you'd fancy a 2-all draw. But to be 2-0 up, there's no excuse, and I'm sure there won't be any excuse. The boys will probably train at midnight tonight in Oriel Park. There'll be no excuse taken for that. And Stevie won't take that. Like, it's such a pity, because we were Shelbourne a couple of weeks ago with the game last week, and this has kind of brought us back down to earth with a bang. And there's no excuse for the 10 men. Any other team in the league, maybe Bows, Sligo, Pats, fair enough, you can take a 2-all out of it, but not a game like that. Absolutely not.
No, and I think that's why we're all disappointed. And looking at the comments, I mean, I don't think there's too many are being uplifting about tonight.
Yeah. I know it's hard. I know it's hard, folks, to pick a man of the match, but we are doing a man of the match competition for Brian Gartland's One Last Shot book. So get your comments in tonight. We'll pick one there in the next couple of minutes. But yeah, it's such a poor. It's such a and it's maybe what we get. It's what we, with the predictions we had last week. Some of the talk predictions come in from people that come in last week. Maybe that's what we get. Maybe we'll all break down there with a bang, but it's such a lazy is not the word, but it just never got going. It really never got going. And UCD, like, they probably the last couple of minutes, they're probably disappointed a little bit. They're probably disappointed that they haven't gotten a goal, a winner.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, for me, it's I think Donald Hanks had the right idea. Go to a gig, go to the gig. Don't see the match. Don't come on the podcast.
Yeah, I think, look, it's easy for us all to sit here and be armchair coaches, you know, in certain decisions that
Of course,
Stevie has
yeah,
made. But it's just cheers, David. I like that there. But yeah, I just feel, yeah, you know, I seen Jason Crawley put up there, you know, the game management was poor, and I think that just goes back to that substitution. I feel like it was a turning point for us. I don't think there was any, you know, Bradley or McMillan coming on had the effect that he probably wanted it to have.
Yeah.
And I think you've taken off Houben, who, as you said, you nearly want him being carried off the pitch. You want him to put everything in. And when people aren't putting that effort, or when people, as you say, not putting in effort, I don't like saying that, but when people are just having an off night, he seems to be working, you know, and especially this season compared to last season, he seems to be putting that effort in. Seems to be dropping into different areas, maybe a little bit further out from goal, but he's winning the ball. And I just think we missed him in those last 20 minutes. You know, I think I would have liked to keep him on for another 10, 15.
And the thing about taking off a player, like you were saying, the thing about taking off a player like Pat Houben is it has to work. So unless he's injured or tired and you decide to take him off for tactical reasons or football reasons, it's got to work. And if it doesn't work, you get idiots like us talking about it on a Friday night. And here's the third biggest idiot we're going to have on the show tonight. Evening, Chris. You're in third spot. We're taking first and second.
Oh, sorry. So before this, all I heard was, and this is no disrespect to UCD, but I don't know if there's any UCD fans listening. I went, what's going on tonight?
Well, there was none at the game, so there probably isn't any listening to us.
The only UCD fans that were watching the game were the two lads who were commentating, and they're going for a pint on a job well done.
Yeah, I will say that. The two lads in the pod listening to doing the commentary, one-liners were absolutely fantastic. That's probably the best thing I took out of the match. Best performance of UCD all season, probably.
I was going to give Lucas Aid Sport my man in the match, but I wasn't sure if it was that or an isotonic drink.
Chris, you were in Head in the Game Park doing some missionary work.
Work.
Did you get a chance to look at the game, look at the highlights?
Yeah, like all I was going to say, don't make me pick a man in the match because all I've seen is goals and the sending off. Yeah, like I said to David Sheehan, obviously does the commentary, and I just said it was like the graduates came back to UCD and had a ball, didn't they? It just, you know, you think Boiler's red card, it's a red card for me. You know, it's a big lunge in like that. Unfortunately, you can't defend it in any way. I was just listening to you before. I was interviewing Tim Clancy there tonight, and I think you seem to be in agreement that, you know, it was probably in the place on the pitch that it didn't need to do it. There was a lot more grass between the goal and where he needed to go to, you know, buy himself a bit of time for that. But it's unfortunate, you know, and you know, Doyle's goal to get us in the lead. You're thinking excellent, in a good position. I'm sitting with the laptop to one side of the camera, keeping an eye on everything. Going, this is grand. Mick Cook's in watching it as well, going, Jesus, that's a hell of a game. He's got a 4-0 game in front of him. But yeah, just sending off. It's a bad time, isn't it? It's, you know, to go down to 9 men or 10 men there, you're kind of thinking, right. I think, Gally, you might have said it there. Probably against most teams in the league, you'd worry, but you'd like to think maybe against UCD you can hold out. Especially then, you know, we go 2-0 up with the penalty. Looked like the lad just got the wrong side completely, and just bundled them over. So it looked like a penalty for me as well. The first goal they pulled back, was there a chance of offside on that? Like, I only just seen it from the wide angle, so it's a bit of it's hard to tell.
Yeah, people can feel free to comment. And to me, there's a bit of a, and in fairness, Pingu said it as well. We can't see Leahy on the far side because of the camera angle. We definitely would have saw it if you were doing it, Chris.
Thanks, lads.
But it's to me, there's a touch. Like if you can pause it, no, it's a kneecap. But it looks to me like it's offside. There's a foot. He seems to be just slightly ahead. Now he's gotten in between the two boys, I'd be interested to see Leahy on the other side. There doesn't seem, in fairness to the lads, there doesn't seem a lot of call for it. But it's a cracking ball, it's a cracking finish. But for me, there's a little touch of offside. But that's just me being annoyed because we've drawn 2-2 against UCD.
Yeah.
But to me, there's a slight argument for it. But look, the game's gone. There's not a lot you can do about it.
Yeah. But, and then the other graduate has himself a mare then Robbie Benson for the penalty. Look, and it looked to me like a penalty as well. He looked to have arms all over him, and that's disappointing.
And I don't even think the ball was near him.
No,
that's worse.
Originally I didn't know. Like, I was watching the ball on the after the game when they showed the goals from all around the other grounds, and I was like, all right, well, what happened there? And then it was like when I seen the replay, I was like, oh, right, two boys have bundled into each other here, and then I just realized I think Robbie gave him a bear hug on the way down. I was like, oh, all right. I don't know if Pingu had some sort of WWE reference going on there for that tackle. I'm not too sure.
No, I was too disappointed with the game, Chris, to come up with anything. I'm no crack tonight. I'm sorry.
Parenthood and poor results. It's just shocker, isn't it? Welcome to the top, pal.
But what was I going to say? Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Pingu. Yeah, it's one of them. Just because you came late, we covered it, but it's one of them games that it's almost like a defeat. I know we've had loads of them. We had them last season, a couple of draws, but we mentioned the stat that James Rogers had up before, 17 away matches, so that's 18 now. Yeah, and that's 7 for the season. But that's, for me, people might disagree, but for me, that's probably the worst we've been all season. It almost feels like we are beaten.
Darius here.
Get him in there.
All right, boys. What's happening, lads?
Where would you get it?
Finish?
2-2.
2-2.
Yeah.
Fuck me.
Good win the other night for Glebe North.
Language, you're live, Darius.
Sorry. Yeah, we're going well. I was up at the draw of the game. That's
disappointing, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was disappointing. It's a pity Dundalk. They could have kicked on.
Glebe North's going to play. Glebe North's going to play in the third division next year, are they? Glebe North's going to play in the third division next year, are they?
Oh no, we might beat some of them first division teams, to be honest.
Yeah.
No.
The old Steve back.
Dundalk is growing and evolving, but they'll get better as the year goes on, I think.
Yeah.
They'll qualify for Europe.
Hopefully.
Be patient, lads. Be patient.
Here's words of wisdom.
Good to see you, boys.
Perfect. Cheers, Darius.
There we go.
There's
our guest for the night.
He's flying with Glebe North.
Oh yeah, he's gone. I thought we'd a winner there.
Come here. What did you think? And Gally, I think you kind of touched on it earlier. Is I think the loss of Conley tonight was massively felt, wasn't it?
So and what way did the back four go then? I was trying to work out at half time. In the bit of time I had, I was like, right.
I think Sam Bowen, when we were defending, dropped back, but he seemed to play kind of as a defensive mid when we had the ball, so that's kind of the way that it looked to me. But what I mean by Conley being missing is it looked like Nathan Shepherd had a poor game. We've kind of hinted out throughout the season how Conley's constantly in the ear of Shepherd, which I think he needs. Right. And tonight he dropped about 3 or 4, and I think he almost gifted them a couple, didn't he, Gally? A couple of times, and it was kind of out of character for how he's been playing. But I feel like maybe that loss of Conley in front of him, and Conley, as I say, being in his ear for 90 minutes, was definitely felt tonight, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think that's probably the problem we have at the moment. With a suspension or anything or an injury like that, we're tight enough back there. And I think, Pingu, I heard you talking earlier about it's tough for Garth to put into that situation as well, because, like you say, he's only coming back from a fairly serious injury with not that many minutes.
Yeah.
And that's tough to go in and ask, and then for your central partner to be sent off. It makes that even harder again. And I suppose also you have to put into factor now as well that, there's talk that Lewis McCarry could be going back to Stoke. Yeah,
we were going to talk about that a little bit later, but that's something that
when you think about, and the reason I'm bringing that up is just what you were just saying about Shepherd, and I think when you look at Shepherd at the start, if you say he was, not that he struggled at the start, but he was just finding his feet, and then he pulled off some big moments, and you could see him getting the congratulations from Connolly and things like that. And I think that kind of boosted his confidence, and he grew. And it was a settled back four then as well. You think we were all over the place at the start.
Yeah.
And then when we had a settled back four, when suddenly Sam Bowen wasn't all over the place and we were settled, suddenly Shepherd got more settled in his role. And he started to play with a lot more confidence. And Connolly was, was, like you say, was jeering him up when he needed to as well. And I think that all kind of helped then too. But is it any surprise maybe that he had a shaky night when that back four was changed again? And then the sending off then obviously makes it two forced changes into that back four. So yeah, I'm not probably surprised that he did struggle tonight, because I think himself and Connolly were definitely striking up a good understanding of when to come, when to go. And like you said, Connolly was constantly in his ear. And for a young keeper, that's exactly what you want. Some of experience, talking you through the game sometimes till you are more confident. Because I think we've all mentioned it, and plenty of guests on the show and that have mentioned it as well, that stepping up from reserve football to senior football is a big step. So when he had the likes of Connolly there to talk him through these games, and and give him the confidence when he'd done something really well, and the pat in the back, and those smiles or yells at each other depending on what happened, I think he probably missed that tonight. And as a result, unfortunately, like you say, I haven't seen it myself, but if he had a shaky enough game, I think that's probably a contribution to it.
Yeah, I don't think he was at fault for either goal, but it was just he seemed a little bit out of sorts tonight compared to the last month and a half, but I just, as I say, I feel like just the loss of Connolly was definitely felt tonight. And as you say, I kind of brought it up earlier about Garth, is that's an awful lot of pressure. And I think, to be fair to Garth, if there's any player that can kind of handle that pressure, he's one who can. But I think coming back from injury, he'd probably be the first to tell you that's not, it's less than ideal conditions for him to be returning,
Yeah.
But I suppose, look, we've talked the game to death. We got 38 minutes out of it, Gally and Chris, so I'm delighted with that. I didn't think we'd get that far. But Chris, you brought up the other big kind of talking point that came out today was the news. Some of the newspapers in Stoke are suggesting that Lewis McCarry is returning next week, which returning back to Stoke, which I think he was supposed to be here till July, and that's going to be a massive miss. Like you say, Chris, one player goes out and we kind of were shuffling the deck again to try and fill a hole, and people are saying about Mountney maybe coming back, but he's, again, how long has it been since John Mountney played a competitive game of football? He's going to have to build his stamina up, and we all know what he can do, and we all know how good he was last year for Pats. But as we're seeing with the likes of Garrett or with Boyler at the start of the season, you can't just walk back in and just start playing high-level football again. It's going to be a gradual thing. So I'd be a little bit worried there, because I feel like out of probably all the players on the team, I feel like Leahy and McCarry, the two wing backs, are the ones who are benefiting week on week and are improving. And again, on a night where the team was very poor, I think McCarry done all right. He didn't shine, you know what I mean? But he wasn't. He was by no means was he the worst player on the pitch tonight. So I think that's going to be a big miss if he's gone.
Yeah, it's even when I had no idea. This was just going around Twitter today, and obviously the comment there from Ryan Dillon as well. But even like it's only May, so like even that he's been signed until May, I find it hard. Really, there was no. I know obviously it's a 6-month loan whenever he came in, but I don't think he came in until this side. It was this side of Christmas, was it? I don't think he was signed before Christmas, was he? So it's not even. Is it even a 6-month loan? It's a strange one to be going back in May when the season in England's over. You thought you might have got till our transfer window out of it at least. But I just find it really odd that he signed a player. I don't know, maybe they weren't expecting him to come in and make a massive impact, to nail down that right back spot. I don't know, but it's a really odd one that he's, we obviously, because we've lost Williams, there's no confirmed report. I think he's gone back to Swansea with the injury as well. Yeah. And it's not like we can sign anyone. Obviously, we have Mayo there. Bone will come in at right back. Mayo, maybe we've signed that. We got Mark Hanratty. But again, not a lot of minutes with Mark or Mayo at the back this season. So it's a strange one. I would have liked to have seen, and I don't know if there's if you're allowed to do it this time of the season, to sign him until at least the transfer window. But it's an odd one to go back now when the season's winding down, like the EPL is finished. Is it this week? Next week? So it's a strange, return from. I find it very odd that we signed him until May, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you, Chris, if you know from Gav the ins and outs of, but it's an odd one.
Yeah, obviously I've no idea of contract negotiations, but there was obviously some sort of a return clause in there that if they needed him, and from what obviously, like I say, come out in the reports today, seemed to be that they're interested in having him back for pre-season. So it obviously depends on when parts of that schedule begins that they will want them to come back for. Is there early training for certain individuals who's returning from injury? I don't know, and that's why they want to bring him back, so they have numbers for whatever training they're doing there. That'd be off the top of my head. That's the only reason I could think of it. But yeah, there's.
Well, I think with the World Cup, is Everton going to start a little bit earlier now?
This thing,
so, yeah.
And then if he's after been playing, he's probably going to need. They're probably bringing him back to essentially take a holiday. You know what I mean? Like, take time off before pre-season starts would be my thinking too.
He's only going to just play, right?
Yeah.
Stop with the logical talk, lads. I want them here till the transfer window stops. Okay, stop with all this World Cup logical stuff.
Gally's got to be at Dublin Airport tomorrow with a can of petrol.
I can't believe I got doors stopped by Darren.
Stop all this sense talk. This is not the time and place for it. But it is a pity. It is a pity because he's probably come in not expecting.
Yeah, when you dabble into the loan market, though, these are the gambles you take. As well with it, that if you play well, if there's a chance they can be recalled on that loan agreement, then you're kind of goosed on it. And I think, unfortunately, that might be what's happened here with Lewis McCarry. They've seen a consistency in his past few performances and said, well, we actually could do with that type of player in for preseason. Let's get him back.
Yeah.
And I think Pingu, like you just said with Dan Williams, I think they Judy Care on a loan, isn't it? They returned to their parent club.
I think so. Yeah.
So they would provide the treatment for him because they essentially own the player, so they provide the treatment for him. Then, so in that sense, it's off our medical wage bill, I suppose, which is good. But there's two incidents there where we've probably lost players back, and hope we can get them back or one back at least.
Yeah, and I'm sure in the next 24 hours, Everton with McCarry will become a little bit clearer after the media speaks with Stevie tonight. If pity it wasn't a home game, Chris, you could have dropped an exclusive with us. But hopefully, it'll all sort itself out. And the good thing is, like around June time, that those windows open again, and we might be able to get someone in, because I think for the most part the loanees have done all right for us, as they've settled down. Plus, looking at the opposition tonight, I mean, UCD's always right pickings, aren't they? In around June time or around this time of the season, people will be signing pre-contracts at clubs because they obviously players are graduating. So I mean, I don't want to bog down too much on the match, but I think Colin Whelan is one that you'd probably love to see in a Dundalk jersey at some point.
I think Kerrigan as well. For me, I thought Kerrigan's an absolute baller. I think him and Whelan work really well, but Whelan's an excellent player. I think we're probably late, maybe in the middle of the park. I think Kerrigan could do a job, but look, there's UCD are packed with these players. I think somebody quoted today, I don't know if it's Dan McDonald, they're literally a conveyor belt for League of Ireland teams. And they're fine with that. And it's a great setup that they have. But yeah, look, it could be something we could look into. But I do think they're going to need definite cover. I know Bone, he can do a job at right back. He started there, but I think McCarry's made that his own, and it's unfortunate that he could be going back now this week.
Yeah. And I suppose, look, the two people that I really, really want from UCD, and I'm sorry to Adrian Taff and Flano, but I would really love to get those commentators to Oriel Park every home game, because they were just...
Is that the man of the match? Commentator?
They made a bad night just that little bit better for us. To be honest with you, this was
the corker for me, and it wasn't even. They wanted to know if you head the ball forward, is it a back pass? And I was like, I had to rewind it. I was like, when you rewind League of Ireland on a laptop, you have to log out and do a password, go back in. I just couldn't get over what they were talking about.
Yeah. I think they just started having a crack with each other at one stage.
It was like two lecturers commentating, telling us how football works.
we got to throw in at one stage, and one of them just goes, throw into Dundalk. It was just like,
no,
I don't
it
know.
was frustrating at the start because they couldn't tell they couldn't tell from the screen that was Pat Hoban being injured. They thought it was Darrell Leahy, but then it just got comical. And
plus they had no faith.
I want to see them next week again. Yeah.
They had no faith in their own team. They got the penalty and they said there's pigs flying over the Belfield Bowl.
And they only score half a goal a game.
Yeah. So
all right.
So we won 2-1 then tonight. So what was this whole podcast about?
The only thing is,
but yeah,
the two players that are mentioned, I think it's a Tony's Pizzeria queue out the door looking for them. I think if you could see what I done there, Gally, I think that because it's that time of the year, don't be surprised if I think were they over. Both players were in England. Was it this week or last week or something? On a possible an invite over from an English club. I can't remember who it was now.
I feel like Colin Whelan might have been, but I think he was linked with us as well at one stage, wasn't he?
Sure, come here.
Yeah, there was talk last season, I think. Was it the season before last? Actually?
I think at the end of the season he was, but obviously it took so long for Stevie to get in. I think that might have held that up when he's finishing his degree as well, isn't he? So
yeah, I think if it's, I think a player like that, like he'll definitely light up the league at a higher club and look at it. There's no doubt about it. He's one of those players that come along. With Georgie Kelly in a similar vein a couple of seasons ago, they produced these players, and Dave McMillan down the years. But for me, Whelan's an outstanding footballer. Like I think himself, when you're looking at young players in the league, you've got McGonigal up front. Himself as well. He could be that kind of level as well. I think he's top class. So look, it's probably only a matter of time, unfortunately. But I don't think UCD really mind either. I think they're well used to this kind of crap. But it's their loss is going to be a massive game because they play at a higher level, better players.
Yeah,
you just get to see him in a lighter frame. Then
Yeah. Well, look, we'll move on, will we? As I said at the start, and me and Gally had a great way of just dropping it in at certain points tonight. We've got a signed copy of Brian Gartland's book, One Last Shot, to give away for the man of the match prediction tonight. Chris, seeing as you were last in tonight, we'll let you give your nomination for man of the match from what you see. You can't pick anyone from the Drogheda game, by the way. You have to pick someone from the Dundalk match.
I was going to say, hang on a second.
Have a gander. We'll vamp while you gander.
I'll look through if you decide between yourselves, and I will go to the comments then, and I'll pick someone.
There's only two people have commented, so there's only one winner for that.
I think we were looking for just comments on the show tonight. Am I right?
No, we decided earlier. We made a last minute change. So
a few last minute entries.
We used to start producing, and it's not me. What's going on here?
I know.
We can take all comments from now, Chris, into consideration. Go for it. Come on, have a week under there.
Gally,
so just a reminder: this competition is for Brian Gartland's book that Chris so generously got signed for us the other day when he was down having a wee visit, which I haven't got my hands on yet. But I
got one for myself, just so people don't realize.
I'll read yours. When you're finished, I'll read yours.
Yeah, I'll pass it over, and I don't want you to scribble out my name on the one he's saying. David Sheehan from LMFM asked, when we pick a winner tonight, do we write in to the name of the person whoever wins tonight? Whatever Garth writes.
We'll do it in crayon.
And spell it wrong. And then strike it out.
Just when we're on the show, I'll give a quick shout out to, just when you're looking through your comments, a shout out to Kieran Callan. So I had the boys on the commentary. I got that annoyed at half time. I had the boys on the commentary and Kieran Callan on my phone with Dundalk FM doing the commentary. He was slightly ahead, so it wasn't too bad. But shout out to him for keeping me company in the second half because I couldn't listen to two boys for a lot of it.
There's 5 nominations for this person, so I think we'll go with him. He would be the scorer of the first goal tonight. So I think, judging by that, then maybe Paul Doyle kind of played well in the first half, and we all played brutal second half.
That's the gist. Doyle was probably more consistent in the second half than anybody else.
And look, going back against his old club as well and getting a goal, fair play to him. Probably the rest of the UCD graduates didn't go as well for us. And first in tonight on that then was Sinead Toole. So Congratulations, Sinead. You
Well done,
have
Sinead.
You are the winner, Sinead.
signed copy.
You are the winner of the signed copy of Brian Garton's book. We will. I don't
For
know how
what
we
it's
get it
worth,
to.
for what it's
We don't
worth,
know what it
Gally,
is.
who was your pick today?
My pick was Paul Doyle. Pat Hooban just missed out. I have to say, Pat Hooban. For once, he actually went under the radar tonight. I don't think he had a lot of people talking tonight, but I think he put in a tough shift. But you know, without trying to pick a player from UCD or pick someone that influenced the game a little bit more, yeah, Paul Doyle. And look at it's a half a nomination, because for me, I just don't think anybody, like, if we were giving away pizza tonight, I'd be getting it delivered here. There'd be nobody getting one.
Gally, you're not allowed to listen to their commentary ever again. A half a nomination.
Half a nomination for teams that score half
Yeah.
goals.
Yeah, you already got half a pizza.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think again, Doyle's becoming one of our more consistent performers. For me, I would have probably gave them man the match to Hooban, because I think again, I feel like our performance dipped massively when he came off. I know, Chris, I thought I'd shock you at that, but I think if you had been on early, you'd have heard me singing his praises as well, you know. But I feel like the performance of the team completely changed, and the dynamic changed when he went off. So for me, I felt he had the biggest influence on the game for us, you know. But I'm happy for Doyler to get the nod tonight, and congrats, Sinead, on winning your signed copy of
Well
Gareth's
done,
book.
Sinead. Yeah, we'll get in touch and we'll get it.
Signed by Stephen McKevitt, by the way. It's not signed by Gareth. It's just a signed copy of the book.
We may get we're talking about right backs. We may get Stefan on the fitness trail, get him on doing Insanity or T25, get him fit, because he might have a job going to him in the next couple of weeks.
Brilliant. Did you went through the results for tonight? Do you want to have a quick look at the table as it stands?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go for it.
Give me 2
7th. It's it does feel like a defeat. It's one of them. It's we don't want to go down this road again, folks.
So I suppose Derry's draw with Bows tonight is a bit of a shock as well. That will probably get us out of jail. That most people will maybe focus on that one tonight. So I suppose that's closed the gap to 1 point to Shamrock Rovers. So Derry are leading the way on 31 points. Shamrock Rovers second on 30 points. A gap of 7 then to Pats after their 4-0 victory, and look decent tonight as well. After 1 or 2 rocky results from them, they kind of bounce back with a pretty solid performance. Then ourselves, a point behind in 4th on 22 points. Gap then to Sligo Rovers, who did they lose tonight to Shells? Did I see 2-1?
Yeah, I don't know if it finished that, but they definitely were leading. Yeah, I'm not 100%.
It's a disappointing result if it was for them, but look, it keeps a 2-point gap, I suppose, between us and them, and then a point behind that is Bows after their draw, as I said, against Derry tonight. Gap of 4 points back then to Shelburne. 2 points behind them is Drogheda. 3 points behind that is Finn Harps, and UCD still waiting for their first victory, but pick up a point tonight in the bowl against us are on 5 points. Lads, if I could take anything from tonight, Drogheda were poor as they were against us. So I'm looking at the mix going on still with Shells, Drogs, and Harps. You would say that's a little battle there for the maybe for a relegation playoff on that. And then we're starting to see a bit of a gap now as well between ourselves, Pats, Sligo, and Bows. Is that what we're thinking maybe for 3rd, 4th, lads? Is it a bit of a shootout between those 4-5 teams?
Yeah, I can't see. I mean, we all need to go on a bad run if Shelburne are going to try and come in there. Any kind of, I think anyone, even if you're looking at Bows, I don't even know if Bows will pick up enough points to climb that table too far. And I look at transfer windows, we don't know, but I think we're looking at Pats, ourselves, and Sligo Rovers. I don't see anybody outside those 3, unless we go on an absolute thunder Egypt of a run and finish second. But it's not. I doubt that's going to happen. But yeah, I'd say you're right, Chris. Yeah, those 3 maybe for me.
Yeah. I think
provided we don't repeat tonight.
I think again, after the disappointment of tonight, we play Bows on Friday next week. I think there's no point in saying it's a must win, because everything balances itself out over the season. But I think you want to be getting 3 points out of that game, and you want to be recovering from tonight, because even though it could be worse, we could have lost tonight. It feels, as Gally says, it feels like a defeat. So you want to be able to bounce back in front of what will hopefully be a good crowd in Oriel Park on Friday.
Yeah, and bear in mind that everyone also caught up in European football have
Yeah.
fixtures on Monday night. So Pats have to go up to Derry, and Sligo are going to Tala. So the Pats and Sligo, who are in the mix there with us, they've a bit of travelling to do against the top two in the league. So we could have a change in the stable before our match on Friday as well, and it might dictate a little bit of where, because you would think if Pats win that, they're pushing on a little bit closer then as well, but and that'd mean Derry would be dropping more points, I suppose, which would really open the door to Mr. I don't want to leave Shamrock Rovers, Stephen Bradley. Open them to get back in.
It must have been some discussion last night.
It must have been, because nobody foreseen it in any newspapers or anything today.
Yeah, it seemed to be an almost done deal. Even the big,
it's a strange. We'll touch on it real quick, I suppose. It's a strange one for me, because whether you say you've got unfinished business or not, like having a successful run in Europe, is that going to get him any extra jobs in the UK? I wouldn't have thought so. Your pedigree is probably as high as it can be right now for him, and if he has aspirations to do it, I'd be of the opinion of you take it when it's there, and you make a name for yourself as best you can on a club that seems to be on a pretty solid footing.
Yeah,
I'm just thinking of the likes of Pat Fenning going to Hibs, and when Stephen Kenny went to Scotland as well. The two of them probably went to clubs that were in turmoil at the time, and it was they took the opportunity to manage outside of Ireland because it was such a big pull for them. But in both instances, and you think, am I right in saying Pat Fenning got to 2 finals that time?
Yeah.
But
and Kenny got to a final as well.
Kenny got to one as well, yeah.
Yeah, and Kenny there as well. So like finals, but the clubs were in disarray around them. From what I'm reading about Lincoln, they seem to be pretty well run. That it's just I thought it was a half decent fit.
Yeah, and I think there was the talk was McPhail was going with him, so it's not like he was going to be, some of the lads were going to be going with him, the staff wise. So that was early on in the week. But yeah, look, maybe the crack at European run, they're not, because Russian teams now, the Shamrock Rovers will be seeded. But again, you're coming down to the luck of the draw. It's it's a strange. I thought he would have went, but he's happy enough. Like, he's a current champion, but I don't see it being that way next year. I don't see anybody touching Derry at the minute. So it'll be interesting to see if he gets another offer like that. Look, we don't know. You just never know. But best of luck to him for toning it down. Not the team, just him in life.
Yeah.
I just see the message in from Paul there. We'll keep Tony's busy this week, because he didn't pick up his
2 pizzas last week.
But he didn't take them. He didn't take one. He won one. I didn't take it. So there you go, Sinead. Do not spill pepper. Don't spill pepperoni or cheese on the new book.
There we go.
So look, to wrap this up tonight, lads, obviously, as I said, we play Bows next Friday night. We'll do our score predictions. I'll go last just to see if I can surprise you with mine. Gally, we'll go with you.
After tonight, you'd expect a wee bit of a pickup, but then it is Bows. It's like we said earlier, if you got the draw tonight against Bows, you wouldn't be giving out so much. I'll go with 1-1. Sorry, boys.
It's all right. Don't be sorry with us.
I can't.
Don't say sorry to us.
I don't. I'll say sorry next. I'm actually not here next week. I'm going to see Mickey Mouse in Disneyland, so I won't be here to defend myself.
And that doesn't mean you're going to die.
Chris, what's your prediction?
0-0.
0-0.
Ooh, wished.
Jesus. Well, I suppose, look, I can see us getting a couple on the night, and I could probably see Bows maybe nicking 1, so I'm going to go with 2-1 as my prediction. 2-1 Dundalk, just to see.
Keep the optimism.
Even a broken clock's twice right a day, or is right twice.
Yeah, biggie. That's like Loud Village a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. I'll leave me out.
Twice right away.
Yeah.
Right, lads, I think we'll wrap it up, will we? And go wallow.
Well, thanks everybody for tuning in.
Yeah, I think a broken clock is right. Is the perfect way
it's broken clock's right in the Thursday.
Thanks everybody for watching. Congrats, Sinead, on winning your double bubble tonight. Thanks to Darius Cairns for being our guest on the night. It was a great cameo. And Some of us will see you all next week.